Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? I am leaving Walmart as we speak. I came to Walmart to purchase some jersey sheets. I was not super impressed with what they had to offer. So I'm running over to Target now. They actually had all their Christmas stuff out in the garden section, so I went through there too. It was really fun. I am so into the Christmas mood right now. I went and got a peppermint mocha from Starbucks when I was doing my review video, talking about like doing my Christmas giveaways again this year. That guy just like sneezed in his car. I almost just looked over there and said, bless you. But I'm trying to figure out how I want to do the giveaways, if I do the giveaways again this year. I had a really fun time doing them last year, so I'm thinking about doing them again this year. So I'm on my way to Target. I have to stop and get gas on the way. So I am vlogging early. It is currently 6:27 p.m. We had a great day today. Well, last night after I vlogged, I listened to half of my Halloween Party book by Agatha Christie. So I have like half of it left, which is like an hour and 40 minutes or something like that. So when I get done vlogging, I'm gonna listen to that tonight. And then I was gonna go right in and start the Sinatra Club, since next Sunday is the book club for that, but I think I'm actually gonna listen to the next Jana DeLeon book because I'm so excited to get back into the Jana DeLeon, the Misfortune series. So I'm thinking about listening to the next one. I know, but I love them so much. So anyway, I didn't see any, well, they have flannel sheets there too. They already actually had some of their Christmas flannel sheets out. Like, they had probably like 6 different sets out, and they were cute. I just don't want flannel sheets. I want jersey sheets that are plaid. I talked to Alex today about getting the red plaid like duvet cover and shams from Williams-Sonoma, and he was totally down for it. He was like, oh, I would love that. I think that would be great. And I think I'm gonna convince him to be able to put up a Christmas tree in our bedroom too. So, I mean, he won't have to have the lights on, but when I'm there, I can have, you know, like when I go to sleep, because I love to sleep. I can't remember who said this last night. Maybe it was Lucy. To like turn the lights off and have just the Christmas tree lights on. I love that. So when I take a nap, I can do that all through the Christmas season. So I'm thinking about getting a pre-lit tree. I was actually looking at the pre-lit trees at Walmart, and they were all like, the ones that would like fit in my bedroom were really, in our bedroom were really cheap. They were like 16 bucks. And I was like, oh, that's pretty inexpensive for a little tree. So I don't even know that I would put ornaments on it. I think I would just leave it just lit and in the corner, you know? So we went to brunch today to Cafe Patashu. I think I'm gonna go the long way so I can vlog. Well, I'll just stay in this lane then so I can vlog more. We got up today, we went to Cafe Patashu for brunch. I had the California Dreamer with an everything bagel toasted with cream cheese on it and potatoes. Alex had turkey chili, a bowl of turkey chili, and then he had his Cuban breakfast. We were both still like, we ate so much last night that we were like not super hungry at brunch, and we both brought our stuff home. I brought half of my bagel and some potatoes home. And I wanted to get an egg salad sandwich, but our waiter there had forgotten to put it in, and then by the end I was like, I don't need an egg salad sandwich. So, and then Alex was supposed to do something with his mom this afternoon, and he was so tired. He was like falling asleep through brunch today. He's like, I am so tired. And he's like, I don't even know why. He was like, I feel like I stayed up super late, but he didn't. He stayed up last night, well, whenever I took him home, which was between like 11:30 and 12 from Melissa and Jason's. So, he went to bed. So anyway, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so, what was I gonna say about that? Oh, so then he like canceled with his mom, and she was doing something anyway. And so he was like, are you gonna make videos? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go to sleep, I guess I'll make a couple videos, because I'll take a nap later this evening when it gets dark outside. And so I made a drama video, and I made a Peterisms video, and I was uploading those, and I was getting ready to go to Starbucks to do this review, and he Alex came downstairs and he was like, my mom is gonna stop by, she's here, do you care? And I was like, no, of course I don't care. So she came in and we chatted and talked for a little bit, and then I left to go do my review video, and he hung out with his mom. So they were hanging out when I left. And then I think he was gonna go back to sleep because he was so tired. And that was our day so far. And then I was like, I wanted to go to Bed Bath & Beyond, but I didn't leave the house until 5 or 5:30, because I ended up talking to his mom for a while. And so then because I'm gonna get a comforter from there, and then we're gonna put the duvet cover over the comforter. This is so stupid, I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but the Christmas plaid duvet cover, which will be nice, because you know that next year we can bring it out and use it for Christmas again and stuff. So anyway, and I got all these sprays in the mail that I had ordered, all these like room and linen sprays, and one of them is called The Smell of Christmas. It's so fantastic. And I was spraying it for his mom, and his mom was like, it smells like candy. And I was like, it does kind of smell like candy. And she was like, I really like it. And so I might order another bottle or two of those. I might get one and get one for her, because she liked it for like a pre-Christmas gift or something, you know, just when I see her, just to give it to her. But anyway, it was nice to see her and hang out. And so then I wanted to stop at, oh shoot, I was gonna go to Meijer. I didn't go to Meijer. I wanted to go to Walmart to see their jersey sheets, because so many people had told me about that. And then I thought, well, I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, what about Target? Like Target's home collection is really nice. So I'm gonna go over to Target now. And then Bed Bath & Beyond closes at 6, I think, so they're already closed. And that's about my Sunday. Yeah. And then I think I'm going to sit and read a little bit of the Lemony Snicket book, and I'm going to finish the Halloween book tonight. And then I'd like to start the Jana DeLeon book, but I don't know when that'll happen. And yeah, that's about it. My vlog is uploading right now, so when I get home, I'll put up my vlog. It was taking forever to upload. It was like 2 hours and 48 minutes or something, 47 minutes or 53 minutes, or who knows how long, but it was long. My vlog from last night was like 1 hour and 27 minutes, I think is what it came to. I don't think that it will be this long tonight, which is why I'm bringing you guys along for the errands with me. I was kind of hoping that Walmart would have more of what I was looking for as far as like sheet options and stuff. Because like I think they have, well, I ended up buying $22 worth of candle waxes. But they smell so good, you guys. Actually, this one that I got, I'm thinking about doing like a haul video. If I end up buying this, no, that's not it. It's called Fireside. Yeah, here it is. It's the Woodwick Fireside. Oh my God, you guys, it smells so good. It smells like a bonfire. Oh, smells so good. I want my whole house to smell like this. I gotta go down in the basement and see what Christmas stuff we have. It seems like for some reason this year, I'm seeing people like everywhere on social media, like already getting excited for Christmas. Like I'm not the only one. Like I'm like on totallythebomb.com, that website that I like, and I do the reviews off that channel. Like she has posted so many things about Christmas already. Oh, by the way, in case you didn't know, Netflix raised their prices. She posted an article about that. I think they moved it from, it's either 15 to 17 or 15 to 20. I can't remember, but totallythebomb.com has it on her website, so you can go over there and see what they raised it to, but she's got it on the website. But she's got all this stuff at like Aldi, which I still haven't been to Aldi, and I want to do like an Aldi like haul and go through there. I'm going to do that sometime this week. But all this stuff that you can buy at Aldi, Christmas stuff, I don't know why I don't go up there. It's like literally like 5 minutes from my house. It's probably well, I would say Aldi, Walmart, and Kroger are all about the same distance to our house. But, yeah, I don't know why I'm so excited about Christmas this year. It helps that it's cold outside. It's 37 degrees right now, and it is cold. And I have Birkenstock sandals on with no socks. Imagine that. But I am drinking a peppermint mocha, so cheers to Christmas. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. I was just thinking I should get out all of my Christmas CDs, but I don't have a CD player in this car. Darn it. Target's down there, but I was like, oh, I'll just keep on going and talking for a little while. How are you guys doing today? When are you guys gonna do you guys put up Christmas trees? And if so, when are you gonna put up Christmas trees? You know, when I was younger, I remember my mom had this friend. I don't know how we knew this woman. So after my grandma died, my aunt would like befriend like these older women. She like knew them through things. I don't know how she knew them. But she would, this one woman, her name was Jane. Oh, that's so funny that I say Jane and Vivian. Her name was Jane, and she was so, she did not like Caroline and I. She didn't like children, I don't think. But Caroline just brought her up to me like not a couple months ago. She was like, do you remember so-and-so? But Caroline's mom would always like, for Thanksgiving and Christmas, we would always have like some older lady that would come over and spend the holiday with us because my aunt, you know, would feel bad that they didn't have like a family to spend holidays with them and whatever. And my mom, one of the women, her name was Hazel. And Hazel's probably, God, I don't even know when she would have passed away. Years, long before my mom ever did. Probably 20 years before my mom passed away. But Hazel was this sweet old lady, and she lived in these apartments in Broad Ripple, like the one, like it's not like a high rise, but it's like the one. If you know Indianapolis, it's right by the Broad Ripple Art League. It's that building right there. And I remember my mom and I stopped in there one night and to say hi to her, and it felt like being in like an old like apartment in like New York or something. And it was like Christmas time, and I remember she had like she like crocheted constantly or knitted or whatever. When you make, what do you call them? I was just talking about them on here the other day because it's what Tucker and Boo's comfort blankets are that Tucker sleeps on every night that Jennifer sent to me. Shoot. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a kind of blanket. Why can't I think of one? Afghan. It's an Afghan. She used to crochet Afghans. Do you crochet Afghans? I think you do. Or do you knit them? I think you crochet them. But anyway, she used to make these amazing Afghans, and she made one for my mom that was like green and white, or maybe that she made it for my grandma. Maybe that's how we knew Hazel, was through my grandma. I don't know. But anyway, what if it was like my grandma's like cellmate? That would be so crazy, wouldn't it? But anyway, she like made us these Afghans, and she wrapped them up, I remember, in like Christmas paper, and they had these bows around them, and she gave them to us. And one was like this really colorful one. I don't know where that one is, but the green one is, I wonder if Pee-Pee's favorite color was green, now that I think about it, because the quilt that he really liked was like a light green, pale green. And then, I don't know where I got that quilt. I feel like I bought it somewhere. We got it as a Christmas gift or something, like, anyway. I had it on the guest bedroom with my ex and I. But, this Afghan, this green and white Afghan that I think I have in the closet, my mom used to have, like, when she was sick, she would sit on the couch and she would have it over her legs. And that's upstairs somewhere. I should bring that out for Tucker. He would like that. It's up in the closet, I think. But I remember we would go and visit her. But Caroline doesn't really remember her. I don't know why. But there were a couple years there, probably 4 or 5 years, where every Thanksgiving and Christmas, we had like some older woman that would come in, older lady, that would spend like the holidays with us. Isn't it weird, the things you remember? Isn't it funny? I remember one Christmas, I don't know this book, like I couldn't tell you what this book is about at all. But I remember my aunt, she used to always decorate, like, oh my God, her house was like so decorated for Christmas. It was so beautiful. And they had this really cool fireplace in their living room. And I remember, like, she used to have a big deal, like, on Christmas Eves. On Christmas Eves, they would, like, we would have, like, a sit-down, very elegant dinner. We always did, until my aunt passed away. Well, even with Carol, I mean, even the last couple of years. Well, what did we do for Christmas last year? Christmas Day, we got together. Did we get together for Christmas Eve last year? Christmas Eve, we do with Alex's family, because the way that they're, like, traditionally, they do their Christmas is on Christmas Eve. And then a couple years before my aunt passed away, we went to Fleming's. So we went to, did we go to Capri one year maybe, or was that Thanksgiving? I can't remember. But anyway, when I was growing up, we always had very elegant Christmas Eves. And then about like after we would eat, which would be like 6 or 7, my aunt's friends and my mom's friends would start coming by, and they had like a rather like, what was that Christmas Day? I feel like it was Christmas Eve. I'll have to ask Caroline. And they would have like a rather like large like get together with all of these people. And I can remember it was like, you know, Caroline and I would always be so dressed up, and it was always so much fun, and there was always like leftover food, and Caroline and I would be running around, and we were really like the only kids there. It was like rather adult. I don't remember a whole lot of other kids coming. And they always played like music, you know, like the loud Christmas music, and it was fun, you know, like, sure, it was surrounded by tons of alcohol, but like those were moments where, you know, when you grow up in an alcoholic home, like, and you're surrounded by like lots of drinking, not like every memory is negative. And I would say those Christmases were some of the most magical memories of my life. It just was very like candles, and it was low lit, and the Christmas tree lights, Christmas trees in every room, and, you know, stuff. And I remember my aunt pulled me aside, and she read me the book, A Cup of Christmas Tea. I should get that book this year and read it. But she read me the book, A Cup of Christmas Tea. I don't know why I remember that memory. But my aunt had this huge couch that was like this down couch, and it sunk in real deep. And she had this glass table, and then on the glass table she had these like round kerosene lamps that like hung, that had like, you know, is that what they have? Is that kerosene that they have in them? That had like a little flame on top of them. And I was so fascinated with those kerosene lamps forever. And then the fireplace going, and I can remember Caroline and I would always sit like in the corner, like right next to each other of that big lumpy down couch, and everybody would be talking, and we would just kind of be taking it all in. And of course we'd be drinking like Cokes or hot chocolate, and it was so much fun. And then like everybody would kind of like, it was very much like Auntie Mame or like, you know, Breakfast at Tiffany's. And then like everybody would kind of linger out at like 10:30 or 11. And I can remember sometimes when I was younger, we would go to midnight mass and then come back, and like Caroline and my aunt and uncle, I remember they did open presents on Christmas Eve sometimes. But my mom and I, we used to, I do remember one year my dad being there. So I must remember it like that far back to being that young. But after that, I don't remember my dad being there. But my mom and I would open one present every year, and it was always pajamas on Christmas Eve. And my grandma would stay with us because she would get up to make the turkey and everything. She cooked everything for Christmas Day. And so she would be up at like 4 o'clock in the morning cooking. I would wake up thinking I heard Santa Claus in our house, and it would be my grandma down in the kitchen drinking she'd already made a pot of coffee, and she was drinking a cup of coffee, smoking cigarettes and reading the paper. And I would wake up with my grandma going, she had horrible emphysema. And I can remember like waking up and like thinking that it was like Santa Claus and Harry, my grandma, and she'd be like moving around in the kitchen. She always got up really, really early, and she made oh my God, I didn't like her macaroni and cheese, but I loved her mashed potatoes. Her mashed potatoes were the best. And she would use one of those old things that, you know, those old blender things. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like where you actually do it yourself, you know? And she would make all the pies, and remember my grandma used to, I actually have one of these suitcases down in the basement. Imagine that. Yesterday I said something about the basement and Caroline looked at me and I said, don't start with me in that basement. She just needs to all go. I said, Caroline, you don't know what's down there. There could be stuff that I really want or valuable stuff. She goes, it just needs to all go. But anyway, my grandma used to have, do you guys remember those little suitcases? And they were like, probably like, I would say like 8 inches in width and then like 8 inches deep and then like probably a foot long, and they had a little handle on top of them, and when you've opened them they have like the little garter thing in there. I can't even smell it. It's weird because it kind of had like this weird smell to it. My mom had one too that matched her luggage, and my mom had like a white hard luggage suitcase. Do you guys remember those? But anyway, it was just like this little thing that was probably about, let me stop, that was probably about like this big. Do you guys remember those? It had a little handle on it. When you opened it, it had a mirror that was like that big, that was like set into the door. Not the door, but the cover of the thing. And I remember my grandma would she'd have her like nightgown in there, and like her outfit for the next day would be in the very bottom, but then she would put like, it was just like an overnight bag, and she would have her like nightgown and then her robe, and it was always like some like blue like satiny kind of nightgown with like a robe that went over it, like that matched it. My mom, my aunt, and my grandma were all into like the sets, like the sweater sets they loved. Although my grandma always wore pants and like a like kind of like a polyester shirt buttoned down. And always, I should find a really good picture of her somewhere, because the one picture I showed not too long ago was like such a horrible picture. It was when I was first born. But anyway, and then she always had her hair was like supposedly my grandma's hair turned white after my grandpa died, which was when my mom was like 4. And so my grandma always had white hair her entire life. I probably get my white hair from my grandma. And so she would have it roller set once a week, so it was always like really tight curls. And then she had like the most perfect nails, and they were like red daggers. They were like unbelievable. And she wore glasses. And so anyway, in this little suitcase, she would bring her outfit, which would be in the bottom, and then it would be like a pants and a shirt, and then she would bring a nightgown and a robe, and then she would have her little slippers on there, because she would have like, you know, the slippers that you just get at like, you know, Walgreens or something, that, you know, the kind you just put your foot in like that. She would have the slippers, and then she would always, my mom and I talked about this later, because my mom would talk about how my grandma was a teetotaler. Like, she hated alcohol, she hated drinking, and she just did not like it at all when my mom and my aunt drank. And I kind of wonder in retrospect if maybe my grandfather didn't have a drinking problem, and maybe that's genetically where it comes from a little bit. Because they didn't, you know, my mom didn't know because he passed away when she was so young. But my grandma did not like drinking at all, and I don't think I ever saw my grandma drink once in my entire life. But she carried this huge bottle of like brown cough syrup, and then she would carry her own spoon with it. She'd have like her own, like, and it was like a tablespoon. It wasn't like a teaspoon, it was like a tablespoon, big tablespoon. And I can remember like my grandma would take it every night before it was this cough syrup that she would take before she went to bed. And I remember my mom and I one time talking about it, like a couple years after we got sober. And I said something to my mom about like grandma never drank, she never used drugs. And she said, you know, Peter, she goes, she took that cough syrup pretty regularly. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, I mean, I wonder if maybe she didn't take more of it than she needed to help her go to sleep or whatever, you know, because it was probably codeine in there. And I had never thought of that before. You know, I had never thought that maybe like my grandma had been like, you know, abusing this cough syrup. And I don't know that she was, but, you know, it's interesting to think of it that way. But yeah, then she would stay over, and that was Christmases. One Christmas, I talked about this. I've talked about this on here before. I was wanting to make this a happy vlog tonight, but we were coming home. My mom never took interstates or highways. It always scared her. And there's not really like a highway from where my aunt lived to where my mom lived at the time, but there was like major roads. My mom wouldn't even take like, if you live in Indianapolis, it was like Keystone is what we would take. So it was like It was fast. It was 50 miles an hour or whatever. My mom wouldn't take those roads. If she could take all back roads that were going 25 miles an hour, she would. And my mom drove like this, and she had terrible night blindness. And so anyway, one Christmas Eve, we came back from my aunt and uncle's house. It was late. It was really late. It was like 1 or 2 in the morning. I don't know why we were over there so late, but my mom had been drinking, obviously, pretty heavily, and it was icy out. And she put the car in the ditch. And, so I remember she had to hitchhike. This is the kind of stuff that is interesting. Like, back in the day, like, when I would first talk about this, like, my haters would always, like, throw this up in, like, a comment in my videos. Well, what about that one time that your mom put the car? I'm like, why would you ever use that as ammunition against somebody? You know what I mean? Anyway, it's just part of my story. It's part of my mom's story. So she slid on ice, and she, had been drinking, and she put the car in the ditch. And so she had to hitchhike, and I remember this family came, and they, like, picked us up. Remember, I can see the car in my head and everything. It was like this little car. There was, like, nobody on the roads. It was like this little car, and I can remember we all piled in. And we got back to the house, and my grandma was just, like, nonstop to my mom, like, on her. I can see my mom standing in the kitchen. She's kind of, like, got her hands, like, on the island, like, kind of bracing herself. And, I remember my grandma was like, well, what are you going to do about the car? And what are you going to do about this? And what about Peter's presents? And what about this? And I can remember my mom was like, Mother, I'm taking care of it. And she was, like, calling the, like, tow truck. Everything got worked out just fine. And, my mom's entire life, like, that was one thing that she really, really regretted. And I think about all of the things that really impacted me, in my life from my mom and everything like that, like, that was really just one small thing, like, in the grand scheme of things, that really didn't affect me. And, it's a story that I tell, but I can remember saying to my mom, like, later in my life, Mom, like, you need to let that go. I think that often we hold on to things that, we punish ourselves for stuff. She punished herself for that, like, her whole life. That that she was like, I can't believe I put my mom and my kid in a ditch on Christmas Eve. It's like, okay, it's not a pretty picture, but you know what? It's like the 13 and a half years, or sober that she gave me were amazing. Or almost 13 years. Were amazing, that I had with her sober. And I don't think it takes all of that away, but I do think, like, one thing that's hard for the alcoholic is, like, I can't really say that I have this, like, I suffer from this, like, with my family. Well, it's really just Caroline and my dad and my stepmom at this point, right? But, like, even with my dad and my stepmom, well, I will tell you, like, for a long time after I got sober, actually, this happened before I got sober, but then they put, like, bolt locks on a lot of their doors in their house, like my dad's office, my stepmom's office, their master bedroom, and I would, like, come over there, and, like, all the doors would be locked. Like, even when I house sat for, like, the weekend, or I was sober a couple years, let's say. I had been sober for 3 or 4 years, and I would, like, house sit for them, and they would, like, lock all of those doors. Like, I would have access to, like, the kitchen, the basement, and, like, a guest bedroom. Like, that was it. And you know what? That's what you get. That's what you get for, it takes your family a long time to get through that stuff. But I have friends of mine, you don't really realize the damage that you do to your friends and family and loved ones around you. They say for every alcoholic or addict, there's 10 people that are, like, profoundly impacted by their use. I don't know how true that is, or about that number. But I will say that, like, I have friends of mine that like, have completely turned their lives around, you know? Like, they've gotten sober, and they've gone back and they've gotten high school degrees and college degrees and master's degrees and doctorates, and they have families, and they've gotten married, and, you know, they do service work, and they pay back to the community, and they're very involved in the world around them, and they're just amazing people. And yet their parents or their siblings or their children from that time have never, it stopped. But what I was saying was that, you know, they've worked so hard to become like the best versions of themselves that they can be, and they are, and they're people that I look up to. They're people that I look up to, and they're total role models to me. And yet their families, or, you know, their spouses, ex-spouses, or children, or parents, or whatever, or siblings, have never forgiven them, and may not ever, you know. And I think that sometimes we don't really realize the damage. And I think especially, like, you know, I get so many messages from people that are like, I've tried so hard with this family member or this friend or whatever, or spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend, you know, like, I've done this and I've done that, and I've tried to find them, you know, like treatment programs and attorneys and, you know, like counselors, and they go and then they use again and whatever. You know, it's like every time that we do that as an alcoholic or an addict, and we don't mean to, like at the time that we're doing it, it's not like we're really we're not intentionally doing that to hurt anybody, right? But what you're doing is you're adding a brick to the wall, you're adding a brick to the wall, you're adding a brick to the wall. And that's what I did with my dad. Like, that was absolutely what I did with my dad, to the point where by the time that I finally got into treatment, my dad was so angry and so done that the brick wall had been built. It was so tall and it was so big that he just was like, I'm done with you. Like, I mean, that was really his response to me when I got out of treatment. You know, he was like, I can remember when I signed this contract to get out of treatment. I've talked about it on here a lot. But, you know, my dad was friends with the addictionologist that I had as a doctor. And my dad finally looked at him and said, you know, like, everything that I touch in my life turns to gold except for my kid. And I don't know what I'm doing with him, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I failed him. And, you know, the addictionologist was like, you haven't failed him at all. Like, have you enabled him? Absolutely. Are you part of this? Sure. And you can set boundaries and limits from here, but this isn't your responsibility. Like, you know. And I remember I sat down and I had to sign this contract. And I had signed these contracts before about what I was going to do, and, you know, with, you know, getting out of treatment, or because of some, you know, legal deal that I had going on or whatever, I would sign these contracts. And I remember this contract was like, I don't remember it specifically. I wish I still had it. But I remember it said, like, you'll go to a meeting every day. You'll have a sponsor, and I can talk to your sponsor anytime I want. You'll go to your aftercare group. I think it was once or twice a week. I can't remember. I think it was Wednesday nights. Every week. You'll go to counseling twice a week. You'll either work 40 hours a week, or you'll go to school full time, which that didn't end up happening because I ended up wanting to focus on my recovery for a semester, and my dad allowed that. But he was like, at the end of the semester, like, you're either going to work full time, or you're going to go to school, or I'm not helping you whatsoever at all, period, end of story. You're like, I'm done. But what happened was that May, I started working in the treatment program that I went to, and I went back to school that May as well. So when I wasn't planning on going back until September, that whole situation kind of worked out the way that it did. Because I can remember when I went and talked to my dad about not feeling like, well, I got out of treatment and I started school, and I was like, I can't do this right now. Like, I need to focus on my treatment, or I need to focus on my recovery. Thank God I had my dad, and he was able and he was willing to do that. That's why every year on my sobriety birthday, I call my dad and I thank him for my life, and I thank him for my sobriety, and I thank him for paying for treatment and my education, you know. The number one gift that my dad gave me was my life. The second thing that he gave me was paying for treatment. And the third thing that he did was paying for my education. I mean, those were three of, how do you thank somebody enough for that, you know? And, so I think that's why the moments, like when my dad will say things to me like, you know, Peter, I'm so proud of you and your sobriety and things like that, like, means so much to me, because I don't do it for him. But the fact that, like, I haven't for 25 years, you know, like, I mean, there were so many nights where he didn't know where I was, or what is going on over there? Somebody's wheeling is that a motorcycle that they're wheeling down the side of the road? like all the nights where he didn't know where I was or, you know, whatever. Somebody is biking down the side of the road or something. You know, I think about that and it's like, they're like on one of those low bikes, so. Anyway. Like, that's just such a small thing that I can do, is providing him, you know, just knowing that I'm safe, that he doesn't have to worry about me out there drinking or drugging today, you know? But anyway, I can remember he, like, showed me that contract, and I was like, where do you sign it? And he's like, you don't sign it. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, you don't sign it. He was so mad. My dad was so mad at me. He was like, you don't sign it. He was like, if you don't want to follow those things, leave your apartment keys inside and walk on out. And he goes, and you're done. Like, I'm done with you at this point. I was like, okay. I was like, he is not messing around. I had to have a family session to get out of treatment. I've told all these stories 1,000 times on here, but I had to have a family session to get out of treatment. Not like an individual family session, but like a group therapy session. And I was in there with all these, like, you know, I was 22, and I was in there with all these men that were like 50. And they were so kind to me and so good to me. And it was like all these guys that were like factory workers. And at that time, a lot of like the big factories like Chrysler and big, like all the factories in around Indiana, Rolls-Royce, Allison, Nestle, like they would get like 30 days of treatment at the end of the year. Like that was like a benefit, an insurance benefit that they had. So a lot of these guys would just like check into treatment at the end of the year. I know it sounds crazy, but they did. And got no insurance benefits like that anymore for treatment. But they were so nice to me. And I can remember sitting in this group, and I had to have this session to get out of treatment. And my dad came in, and he was working at the hospital right next door, so he walked over in the winter, you know, and he's in a suit and a tie, and we all sat in this huge circle, and then it was my dad and I looking at each other, and I wasn't allowed to respond. I wasn't allowed to say anything. My dad was just supposed to talk to me and tell me what he thought. And he looked at me, and I remember one, like, tear just kind of came down his cheek. And all these guys were like, let him have it, Dr. Monn. Let him have it. And I remember my dad looked at me just like, the saddest look on his face, you know? And he pointed at me and he said, you're pissing your life away and you don't even realize it. And he said, you wanted a family session so you could get out of here? Now here you go, you can get out of here. And he stood up and he walked out. And I can remember thinking at the time, like I didn't even really know what that meant. I didn't really have any effect on me. And I can remember later, like, you know, I think you have to have, like, clarity to see certain things. And I look back on that, like, it's like my friend that was living with me and she left, and I was so mad. I was so ready for her to go anyway. This is not my friend in Berlin. This was a different friend, but she looked at me and she goes, the only way that I can be your friend is by not being your friend. And she left. She was threatening to tell my dad about my use, and I was like, then just effing leave. I was so mean to her. And she's like one of the only friends that was willing to do anything about it, you know, and not enable me. But I can remember my dad saying that, and I didn't realize it. I had no clue how bad I was pissing my life away. I had no clue, you know. I think you have to come pretty close to dying and pretty close to losing everything to really realize how valuable a gift just living is, you know. It's such a gift. And there are people out there every single day that are fighting for their lives because they have terminal illnesses, and their kids are fighting for diseases at children's hospitals, and, you know, or fighting for their lives because they have diseases and they're at children's hospitals, or, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And here I am, this spoiled addict, which I'm not a whole lot different than a lot of addicts and alcoholics out there, right? But I'm just like willing, you know, here, let's do this and let's do that. And, you know, if I live or if I die, it doesn't really matter. And there are people out there that are literally literally fighting for, many of you that watch my videos that tell me, you know, that you're going through chemo and stuff, and that is not missed on me today. And I feel so blessed that I look at my life as a gift today, because I just didn't. And I was pissing my life away. My dad was absolutely 100% right. And I think that was actually one of the moments that when I looked back on it, the moon is so pretty tonight, that when I looked back on it, I'm so stuck in this cozy state of mind. Like, can you see the moon right there? And then there's like this little tree. And I'm like, this is such a cozy little corner. But anyway, I think that was one of the moments that when I looked back on it, I was so like, I was going to get gas like a long time ago, but it's whatever. He'll still get me to Target. Am I going to still go to Target? What time does Target close, I wonder? It was one of those moments that I looked back that I was like, you know, my dad is right about a lot of things, and I really need to start listening to my dad. Like, I really need to, like, if I'm going to ask him for advice, like, I really should be listening to him, because he knows what he's talking about. Because I didn't listen to my dad, you know? I was like, oh, when he was my age, he would have said something different, which is true. But you know, when you're older and you have some life experience, I don't care what anybody says, you know, and I'm not saying this to be condescending or looking down or whatever, but like, if you're younger, ask the people around you that have some life experience what they would do in your situation, and say, but seriously, be honest with me, you know, somebody that you trust. Because the reality is, when you're older, you do have life experience. You do have a better sense of how you would have done things. You do have a heightened version of, you know, 2020 looking back on your life. Like, I wish I had done this, or I would have done that differently, or whatever, you know? But you don't, and you have to go through things to learn them, you know? It's weird that I'm coming up on my sobriety birthday. I didn't even really think about that until right now. I've been saying 25 and a half years for so long, but I'm like past that now. Sometimes it seems like it's been a really long time, and other times it seems like it hasn't. Like, when I think about my last drink and my last, like, night using, my last drugging and all that stuff, like, that seems like a really long time ago. And, like, even though I just get a daily reprieve from using, it seems so, like, out of sight that I would ever go back to that. Which is crazy, because I've had quite a few friends that, even with where I'm at, I know people that were as sober as long as I am now that have gone back. I can't imagine being sober 25 plus years and going back out and picking up. And you know what? There's a saying that when you go back out, you pick up where you left off. And the reality is, they're back to where they were when they let go, or when they came in, you know, to recovery. And that's sad. It didn't happen like overnight, typically, but like, it, you know, I have a good friend of mine that she started smoking pot. It's where people think that, you know, like what I said the other night, I don't have a huge issue with it, but I don't think as an addict, for me as an addict, I can only speak to myself, but for me as an addict, if I started smoking pot, it would lead back to everything else. That's just me. But my friend, she started smoking pot, and within 6 months, she was living on a drug dealer's couch. She'd lost everything, her family and everything. She had 20 plus years of sobriety. So when people ask me, like, why do you still go to meetings? Why do you do all this kind of stuff? It's like, well, I hold it really dear and very tight. It's my number one thing in my entire life. If I don't have my sobriety, I don't have anything else. And I have to protect it at all costs. It's why it's not like a joke to me when people, like, talk. Like, when people make fun of stuff to do with, like, sobriety or they like use it and like to hurt somebody, or they'll bring up things about using or whatever. And here's the difference. Like with my mom, like before I got sober, and she would say things to me like, well, you've done this before. You know, how do I know that, you know, okay, if you're a friend or a family member of an addict or an alcoholic that has been affected by their use, then I think you have a right to say some things, okay? Because I was just saying this before. We have done major damage to those relationships of those people around us, right? But when random people say stuff, I literally pay that no mind. But I will tell you this, I write them off that quickly. Unless they are just uneducated and they need to be educated about addiction, and then if they ask questions, I'll give them the answers. Because I think everybody has a right to be educated and learn about things, right? But to try to hurt somebody with their addiction issues, you know, it's just like, it's so low to me. It really is. You know, when... Like, I think about during the time that I've been on here, and I've been on here 45 minutes, so every 9 minutes in the United States, somebody dies from a heroin overdose. In the last 45 minutes, 5 people have died from a heroin overdose. Since you've been watching this right now, if you've made it all the way through, 5 people have died from a heroin overdose. That's pretty scary, isn't it? What are we laughing about? What are we, I mean... You know, people in recovery will laugh about things like we're not a glum lot, or we'll tell stories of ourselves that maybe look stupid or funny in retrospect, right? But the seriousness of it, this came up, Siri just came up. You know, the level of severity, like we're not, like that's not funny. Why are we thinking that's funny? I don't think that's funny and I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that's kind, and I don't highly respect when that's happened. Have you ever had somebody say something, and it's like, it can be like whatever your issue is, right? But somebody will say something, and like in your head, you literally just like, at that moment, you're like, yeah, I'm done with this person. Like, I'll never see them the same again. Like, that's a pretty quick way with me to like have me out of your life, or have me like never, I won't address you, I won't act like I see you, or whatever, is when you do things like that. I just am like, okay, I just can't. Like, I don't think that's funny. You know, it's like people are dying out here. We are literally fighting a war on drugs. The families are being torn apart, you know, and it's not just opioid use either. It's not. People are dying from alcoholism. People are dying from untreated addiction every single day. There are people that are never making it into 12-step programs. There are people that are never making it into counseling. There are people that are never just stopping, white-knuckling it, which is dangerous, but what it is. There are people that are never getting a chance to stay sober and are never introduced to any kind of method of sobriety whatsoever, no matter how you do it, right? And today, I just care about people staying sober. I don't care how they do it. Do it whatever works for you, but... You know, the reason that I go to a 12-step program is because, for me, emotional sobriety is... When I put the drink and the drug down, who was I? I was an angry, volatile person that had all these emotions and feelings inside of me that had to be dealt with somewhere. And I had long-seated resentments and anger about things and hurt feelings. And that was a lot of what a 12-step program was about. And what couldn't be worked on through a 12-step program is referred to as outside issues. And then I was recommended to go to a counselor, which I was doing. You know, I did that for a long time when I got sober, and then, you know, a couple years ago. And will again. Because I don't want to feel that emotional hangover that comes along with, God, I love this. I love this Brazilian Kiss lip balm so much. It is hands down the best. If I only had to use one lip balm for the rest of my life, this would be it. And the Lunar Beauty lip gloss would be my lip gloss, which is right here. But I don't want to feel that emotional hangover anymore from having all those feelings and emotions attached to things. And, you know, that was the reason why, for me, I kept on going back out. Like, I would get, you know, I would stop using, I would cold turkey it for a while, and I would have, you know, I could put together a little bit of time, you know, a couple 6 days or whatever. I really couldn't put that much that long together, but I would put a little bit of time together, and you know, I would go back out, and I look back on it, and it was always feelings. When we minimize feelings, you know, the feelings, emotions, issues of the past, how I felt about things, not feeling validated, having resentments. I was so driven by anger. You know, and really, like we say, 100 forms of fear. I was really driven by fear, you know? And I don't want to, you know, I don't want to live like that today. I don't want to live sad and angry and fearful. I just don't. Like, sad and angry are just like, they're not pretty places. Man, this vlog took a weird turn, didn't it? It's all over the place. Oh well, I guess it's good that way. Dream, 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 dream when I love you, oh you in my heart. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. What are your favorite Christmas songs? I have to say my favorite Christmas album is John Denver and the Muppets. And I love the version of Silent Night on there. I think Silent Night is one of the prettiest Christmas songs. But it explains the background of how the story was written, or how Silent Night was written. And then I also love Alfie the Christmas Tree. I think that's what the song is called. My friend Brittany, her dog's name is Alfie Tails. That's so cute. And what else do I like? I like the version. Well, Sarah McLachlan put out. Is it Sarah McLachlan or McLaughlin? I think it's McLaughlin. She put out a Christmas album, and I had it on DVD. I had it on CD, and I loved it. And she had a version of God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen with the Bare Naked Ladies, I think. And I really liked that song. Darlene Love, Winter Wonderland. I loved that last year when it was like playing on, because you know, I like listen to Sirius Radio. When do you think it starts on Sirius Radio? Do you think it started already? Should I look? There's no way it started already. I think it's like 58. Oh, Emmylou Harris. 59, Willie's Roadhouse. Emmylou Harris, I love her so much. My dad used to love that song. If I needed you, would you come to me? Do you guys know that song? I love that song. No, I don't think the Christmas stations are on yet, but I wish they were because I love them so much. Well, listen, you guys. Zac Brown Band, Goodbye in Her Eyes. Do you guys like the Zac Brown Band? I do. Outlaw Country, Channel 60. Jerry Jeff Walker, I don't even know who that is. Reba McEntire, what am I going to do about it? I love Reba McEntire. And then Bob Marley and the Wailers, Kinky Reggae, live. I need to go to the restroom, but I don't want to go into the gas station. Oh well. I think I'm going to listen to my audiobook and try to get it done now. So I'm going to get off here. I can't believe I finished my vlog and everything. It's not even 7:30 on a Sunday evening yet, going into Monday. Sunday's my favorite evening, as you know, or favorite day, as you know. I love to relax and just enjoy my day to get renewed and refreshed for the week ahead. I think my husband has a busy week this week. I was asking him, and he was telling me he has this to do, and this to do, and this to do, and these projects and whatever. So, and then Tuesday is the election. It's going to be an interesting week. I'm wondering how long the polls are going to be like on Tuesday to go to vote. I'm trying to figure out what would be like a good time to go. got to get up somewhat early. And I've also got to talk to Tanya to see if we're going to go to our meeting that night. Because it's at a different place because of the voting polls. Anyway, because our meeting is in a church, and they do voting at the church where we go to our meeting. So they do it at a different place that night. Anyway, let's see what else. I think that's it. So I'm going to get off here now. I'm going to do a really quick goodbye. And all I'm going to say is, if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And be kind to one another. Practice random acts of kindness, but don't tell anyone. Like I also always say, practice random acts of kindness, but don't tell anyone. Most importantly, let somebody know how much they mean to you. You can start your day over whenever you want. Look in the mirror every single day and every single night and tell yourself, I love you, and at least one positive affirmation, like you are worthy of love and you are valuable. Put love, kindness, compassion, goodness, peace, and serenity out there into the world. And like it says in the 4 agreements, like it says, always lead with love. And I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Happy November. Bye. Love ya.